Yeah, go ahead. I think she's rolling, so.
My name is Todd Workman, and I am the Safety and Compliance Manager for CHS in all of Colorado. I take care of about 30 locations for 3 different business units, and I deal with about 250 employees on a daily basis. I got into this role kind of by accident, to be honest with you. I used to be manager of our car care units, our business units, and the general manager at the time asked me if I would be interested in stepping into the safety role because it's a full-time position with CHS. I kind of hesitated at first, but it's been a great career move for me, and it is one that I can take with me wherever I go now. Safety is a specialized field, and there's not that many people that are in safety. I kind of started at the bottom with very little knowledge of what it entails to manage safety for business units on a day-to-day basis, but I've since gotten a couple of designations in the safety field that are key to advancement and taking my career with me wherever I go. I'm responsible for training, policy writing, compliance, dealing with EPA, OSHA, basically any government bureaucratic agency that oversees businesses. I deal with them in our day-to-day stuff. So I also work with each one of the GMs. I'm a senior leadership team member for all 3 business units, so we help in career advancement with our employees, hiring and firing, and do some human resources work too. So.
Okay. What does the day-to-day look like for you?
My day-to-day is not really any set schedule unless I have meetings scheduled. I really have the leeway to go wherever I want during the day to any one of the business units. So I spend a lot of my time traveling pretty much all of Northeast Colorado and visiting with employees, seeing what their needs are, what I can do to make their jobs better for them, make them more safe, stuff they're struggling with, and then try and implement things to make it easier for them to get their jobs done in a safe manner. So.
Okay. What does success look like in this position, and how do you measure it?
Success is measured every day. We have monthly bench reports that come out to all the business units. It's based on completion of trainings, the number of people that are hurt, the number of people that had a near miss, which is something that's almost getting hurt, but it's not. How we manage that, how we report that, risk control improvements. What steps are we taking to minimize risk to our employees? What stuff are we putting in place to make sure they're not getting hurt? And ultimately, the ultimate test for me is that all the employees go home to their families the same exact way they came into work. I mean, the most important thing is that what is important to them away from work is what I want to focus on and keep in front of them, because sometimes they forget. They get so focused on what's going on at work, they forget of what's really important. And that's, I think, kind of my message is remember what's important to you, because what's important to me may not be important to another employee. So I think if I keep that in front of them, it helps them stay focused on being safe for their families. So.
Right. Totally aside, but do you guys focus on any mental health as a safety component, or do you focus more just on like physical safety protocol?
No, we do. We've had instances, I guess, where we knew that employees maybe weren't in the best place to be at work, and maybe they were struggling with something outside of work, and I reach out to them and offer help through human resources. But sometimes it's a little I guess leeway or a little assurance that if you need to go home and take care of stuff or deal with something, that's everything will be fine here, go ahead and go. So yeah, mental health is a side of it, because if people aren't mentally crisp or mentally focused, that's usually when bad things happen. So yeah, if there's something that's going on at home that they need to deal with, we generally give them leeway to go do that.
Okay.
Sure.
What kinds of accomplishments tend to be valued and rewarded in this field?
It really kind of varies. For me, I guess what's rewarding for me is when I look at people calling me and saying stuff like, I did something at home this weekend that I've never done before. I did such and such, and I was safe, and I've never done that before. So for me, I guess success looks at when people slow down and realize that what they do every day at work, at home, has an impact on what happens in their lives. And I think if you don't slow down and think through that, the outcomes sometimes can be devastating or tragic. And that's, I think, if I get people to slow down and realize that, then to me that's success in this field, I think.
What current issues and trends in the field should we be aware of?
Current issues, especially in agriculture, is, to be honest with you, is liberal policies that are squashing agriculture. A lot of misinformation about chemicals and such that they do spread a lot of fear with not a lot of education around it. I think it's our jobs as steward of agriculture and living where we live that we have to educate along with the fear so that people can make their own mind up. I'm not going to shove something down people's throat, but I think with the fear, people need the real facts too to make up their mind on stuff. So.
Great. What skills, abilities, and personal attributes are essential to success in this job field?
I think number one, you got to be able to communicate with employees. You got to build a trust with employees. They have to know that if they have something they need dealt with, and they don't want the manager to know that they can tell you about it, and they have to believe that you're going to do that in such a manner to protect them or be a liaison between them and the general managers. And I think if you have the ability to communicate but also listen, I probably do a lot more listening than I do talking. And I think in this field that goes a long ways if you listen to people. You'll find out a lot of stuff just listening. So.
That's right. What's the biggest challenge that your company faces? Or that your position specifically, however you want to address that?
The biggest challenge probably is old employees working with new young employees. There's a lot of older employees in all of our business units that have the school of thought that this is the way we've always done it. They don't always embrace change. They don't always embrace a new, safer way of doing things, and they continue to do things they've always done them. A lot of times that doesn't mean that it's safe. It just means they've been rewarded and got away with it for so long, they just keep doing it that way. So when new employees come in, we try and teach them the safe way to do stuff, the new way to do stuff, and a lot of times that creates friction between maybe a supervisor that's been here a long time and a new person that's coming in and wanting to do stuff the right way, the way that they're trained, and it leads to some conversations, but ultimately it's a compromise, and really have to keep focused on why we're wanting them to do that way. It's not because their way's bad, it's just that we want them to stay safe.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Okay, are computer skills needed? Math skills, reading skills, obviously communication skills, but.
Yeah, there are some math skills. I mean, if you're going to move on with designations, you have to have a pretty good math background, pretty good chemistry background, science. I'm not super great at computer stuff. I'm adequate enough to get done what I need to do, but I'm not going to sit down and write an Excel program or anything like that. And I have a gal that helps me do that, and she's really good at it. So I guess you'd say the stuff that I'm weak at, I have people working with me that are better at that than I am, which I think if you're going to be successful, you have to surround yourself with people that are good at maybe what you're not good at. And it doesn't really matter what role it is. If you're not good at something, you need to have somebody around you that is good at those things. So.
Okay, what training is most valuable for an employee to bring to the job?
To my job, what training?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if there's really any training that would be most valuable. I think you have to be willing to speak out. You have to be willing to take responsibility for your actions. And we have a little thing that we call Courage to Care here that we operate on here. And that's just basically that I'm going to have the courage to speak out when I see somebody doing something that's unsafe. Not because I want to get them in trouble, but because I want them to go home to their wife and kids or brother or sister or mom or dad, whoever they live with. But also in the same, I'm going to be adult enough to know that if I'm doing something dumb and one of those other employees says something to me, I got to be an adult enough to accept the correction or just the call out and accept it as, hey, I was maybe not being so smart there, and thank you for doing that. So mm-hmm. It's really just kind of a willingness to accept and speak out, I think, would be a good way to.
Okay. What steps would you recommend someone take to prepare to enter this field?
If they're going to get serious about it, I would really have them look at getting a designation like a OHST or there's some 10-hour designations and stuff that kind of can dip your toe in the water. But in this field, there's really no substitute for experience. And to get a lot of things, you have to have 5 or 10 years experience to even qualify to get a designation. So it is a lot of work, but it's very rewarding once you're in it. to do. And like I said, you can pretty much, I could take this job wherever I wanted now.
Right,
I wouldn't have to
that's
stay here to do it, so.
Those designations, are they provided by CHS for someone who maybe is already, like you said, already working for the company? Do they provide the opportunities to get
They
those?
provide the opportunities to get them. I've studied for about probably 3 years to get the 2 that I've got, and it's probably, I don't know, several $1,000s to get the designations, and you have to go to a remote location and take the testing, and it takes about 5 hours to take a test and stuff. So it's stuff that you really have to study for, and you have to want it. It's not something that you can just haphazardly go into and pass them. I mean, they're very thorough, and you have to have a good background and knowledge to pass them. You can't just really, I guess, experience alone's not going to pass them without some education, and education alone's not going to pass them without some experience. So you have to have a good blend of both of them to pass.
Is there a minimum requirement of hours that you have to have or time that you have to have?
Usually
spent on the
to even, you have to apply to get a designation, and then you have to be approved by the Board of Certified Safety Professionals to even sit for the exam. And part of that is you have to have, I think 75% of your job, full-time job, has to deal with safety issues, and you have to have a minimum of 5 years experience to do that. So if you're gonna go for like the safety management specialist, which is one of them, and then the occupational hygiene safety technician is the other one I have, and those both require 5 years minimum experience. But there are some entry-level ones that if people are interested, you could get one in and kind of see if it was for you or not, so.
And then you said it's thousands of dollars for those. Is that what CHS covers, or is that out of pocket?
No, they will pay them.
Okay.
The company will pay if
Okay.
you, well, a lot of the stuff you have to have 4 or 5 references to even apply to sit for the exam. So a lot of them I use my GMs here, and yeah, they will. CHS will always pay for furthering education. In fact, there's a lot of tuition assistance programs through CHS that they encourage you to go back to school, and you can get your schooling paid for. So
That's awesome.
yeah.
Do you have any other questions?
No.
Do you have anything you want to add? Anything
Um,
else?
I guess whatever you're thinking about going into, don't get stuck in thinking that that's where you're going to end up, because I never had in a million years would I have a wildest guess what I'd be doing now, you know, or what I'm doing now. It just your life takes funny twists and turns, and it's sometimes for the better when you don't understand it. So I guess just because maybe you're focused on something now, that may not be where you end up. So
Just keep an open mind.
right, absolutely.
All right. Thank you so much.